7:44, 16 from 8. So much to talk about on this Monday, the 17th day of October. Gentlemen, good morning.
Hello.
And so, Ken Miller, a little upset with it. I think Ken's playing us. I really do, that the whole Vanstone rant after the loss on the weekend. I think Kenny's just being the good coach and leader that he is.
A little bit, but at the Plaza of Honor dinner, though, the other night, Steve Mazurk was the MC. Lots of cracks on Vanstone. Because I think, because Vanstone was one of the very first sports people to say, look, this team has lost its way. They're not going to make the playoffs. They're flat. They're finished. And of course, organizations, whether like political parties, sometimes they won't put their leader up to go on certain talk shows because the person on that talk show is so mean and critical. Yeah.
People do that.
They do. And so organizations like sports teams are the same, right? You feel under siege, so you make the bad guy Vanstone. So I think had anybody else asked that question, you asked that question, he would have said, well, I haven't made up my mind for next year, blah, blah. Vanstone asks it, and it's, don't you question my commitment.
Yeah. This is truly where politics and sports collide right here.
Absolutely.
Well, it is, isn't it? It really is.
Because they're under siege. It's an organization. But I'll tell you, the one thing about that Plaza of Honor dinner the other night, do you get a sense of the great fans of this football club? This is a football club that has the best fans in pro sports.
Well, and how many consecutive sellouts? The game even on the weekend? I heard them say it. I was listening on the radio.
19.
19 sellouts.
30,000 again.
The franchise is fine.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
We've had a good 10-year run and now a little bump in the road.
Yeah, and you're going to get this.
Okay, so we're okay on the Riders then?
Sure.
Any of you guys take part in the Occupy rallies anywhere?
No, there was a guy had his Stop John Gormley sign at the Occupy rally, so I had somebody out taking pictures of him, so we'll post those today.
Cool.
Yeah, on Twitter. It's cool. So
You're a star everywhere, man.
I raided with the oil sands, I raided with the wheat board, so it's good.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah. I know I was reading some of the information and I heard a story from the U of S Senate meeting on the weekend where some of them appeared up there as well. I guess the funny part was, from one view I heard, was these protesters were in the room while the U of S Senate was having its meeting, and then they take a lunch break, and the protesters followed them and had lunch with them as well.
Nice. Well, would that have been a free lunch for the protesters?
Of course.
I saw a Twitter exchange where someone was downtown and said, I just about ran over the Occupy Saskatoon rally. And someone else responded on Twitter, oh, try again.
Circle around and come back. Now, don't be like that.
It's
a democracy.
Well, it is. And again, to their credit, and we're very fortunate in this part of the world, when we have, whether it's the George Bush rally, whether it's this, everybody basically minds their manners, and they get a police escort. That's good. It's a free country. Go have your own opinions.
Speaking of amazing things that happened on this weekend, my wife, wonderful person that she is, has never in her life, until yesterday, been to a fall supper.
Amazing.
No. I kid you not.
That is amazing.
I thought it was impossible to go up and Saskatchewan.
16 minutes after 8 o'clock, one of the people from our building that was down at the Occupation Saskatoon, the Occupy Saskatoon event on the weekend, was Brent Temple, who is producer to the John Gormley radio program, and I wanted to pick her brain a little bit to get her perspective on what she saw and what she thought was really going on here, and what the message was that these people, these 400 or so people that took part in the protest here in Saskatoon, were trying to drive home. Hey, Brenna.
Hi, how are you?
So, you were there on Saturday, the main day of this?
You got it, yep. I walked down and I soaked it all up.
Were you there as an observer, a media observer, or were you a participant?
I would say as a media observer. I took out my camera, I took some pictures, I just watched some of the interviews that some of the media were doing, and honestly, I'm not really sure what they were trying to prove. I guess I walked away a little bit confused.
Well, I get the sense, whether it's Occupy Saskatoon or Occupy Wall Street, I get the sense that's a little bit of the way majority of people on the outside looking in are feeling is, okay, I understand that you want to protest, but what is it you're really protesting? It seems pretty broad. Even when I look at the front page of the Star Phoenix today and I start reading these different topics on the protest signs, I see everything from the Canadian Wheat Board to tar sands, Saskatchewan's not for sale, we don't hate the rich, we just want to share. Pretty broad range here.
I anticipated a lot of Wall Street signs, and I think that I saw probably two, and the rest were, really big on the tar sands, like you said, the Canadian Wheat Board. There was even a Stop Gormley sign. I think that it was kind of disorganized, and if they were trying to make a point, it was lost. I think it's great to stand up for what you believe in, but there were so many different beliefs floating around. I'm not sure what they were trying to prove. Another disturbing part, at least for me, was seeing that there were a lot of 3-year-olds with signs glued to them, and that to me seemed a little bit too exploitive, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any politicians down there that you saw? This is what's got my curiosity up. We're in an election campaign here in this province. Here are some people who are getting actively involved in the political process, even though they may not like the political process the way it stands. Any sign of any provincial politicians?
No, I didn't see any actually. I saw a Green Party sign, but that's as close as I would say we got to seeing a politician there.
So the heart of this was Saturday when we had, depending on who we talked to, the paper says about 400 people took part in this event on Saturday. Then they camped out a number up in the Friendship Park down at the bottom of the Broadway Bridge, and I understand some of them are planning to stay there all week.
Yeah, I mean, good for them, I guess. I'm not really sure if it will I guess,
result in, I think that's the question a lot of people are asking is, okay, you protest, you've got this variety of messages, but what's next? And especially when, from our perspective here, it doesn't seem like politicians seem to be weighing in on it very much.
It really had more of a craft fair feel, to be completely honest. It was nice to see that everyone was so calm and whatnot, but I'm just confused as to what people were meeting for, and besides that, the music was horrible, I'll tell you that much. Lots of guitar and whatnot, but I had to leave actually because the music was so bad.
Okay, so Brenna's advice to organizers of future rallies, just make sure you got a better music list, okay? Thanks for your perspective. Jared Knoll, our web producer, was also there taking some photographs, and Jared spoke to some of the organizers of the event on Saturday. Jared, what were they saying about whether or not they perceived this event to be at all successful?
Well, Brent, they thought they sent their message across. I talked to Jay Costera and Peter Garden, the lead organizers. I came across thinking, there was a fairly central pillar in their message. They were just, standing against something I think everyone is in general agreement with, that whether or not we believe it's happening, we don't want corporate lobbyists having disproportionate democratic influence.
So really it's the overlying picture then, the overlying subject is capitalism and the way it is, in their mind, not working properly.
Yeah, I'd say that's about right. I'm actually across from River Landing right now. They are about 5 porta potties up and about 2 dozen tents still.
Yeah, apparently they're going to stay there. Some of the core members say they plan on staying there for probably the rest of this week down at Friendship Park.
Yeah, they've got documentaries going on, projectors and hot drinks, and invitations to the general public going.
Okay, well, if people can enjoy this beautiful October weather, thanks, Jared. They can walk down and maybe you can strike up a conversation with these remaining members of Occupy Saskatoon and maybe get a better handle on what it is they hope to achieve with this. And I think that'll be the big issue. It's one thing to get your message out, as varied as it may be, but I think at the end of the day, if the politicians aren't getting directly involved in it, it's like, well, what's really going to change here?
Earl McRae, we're going to miss you. Today's hero. And today's zero. Not the Occupy Saskatchewan grown-ups. You can make all your own decisions. But the people who brought toddlers to Occupy Regina and Saskatoon and then glued signs on them. Can you spell exploitation, you granola-munching fleabaggers? You're zeros. I'm Gormley on NewsTalk Radio. This was a collection of well-intentioned people, I'm sure. And I give the protesters props for this. Other than a couple of them wearing masks from V is for Vendetta, the supposed Guy Fawkes mask, that was in a movie. Guy Fawkes never looked that way. But protesters wore that mask in the movie V is for Vendetta. If you wanted to wear a mask, you could have gone as a Jedi. You could have gone as a Wookiee. You could have gone as Darth Vader. But you chose to go as Guy Fawkes. Now, there's only a couple of people wearing a mask, which is good, because you don't like masked people in public protests. And we talked about that before. The protesters were peaceful. They had a police escort from the same police who represent the man. The man! The 1% man who controls everything. But they were a many, varied, and diverse group of protesters. Now, one of the American terms that is pulled up from Occupied Wall Street is fleabagger. You see, the left refer to the right, teabag, the Tea Party movement as teabaggers. Well, surprising that the protesters of Occupy Wall Street are known as the fleabaggers, because they're looking a little unkempt, they're looking a little dirty. Some have chosen to defecate in odd places, literally on Wall Street. So the Occupy Wall Street thing has been played out now a month today. It started September the 17th. Our group were clean because they really had a chance to have a shower on Saturday and then show up to protest. So they weren't quite as flea-bitten looking as some of the flea baggers at the U.S. protests. But they are an interesting, eclectic group because when you ask them what's wrong, why are you here, they have many and varied explanations. The Regina organizers made the point that there's a boom going on in Saskatchewan that benefits only 1% of people. Really? 1% of Saskatchewan people are benefiting from the economic boom? I disagree both with your assertion and your math, man. So I ask you, when you watched the Occupy Saskatoon and Occupy Regina rallies this weekend, from tar sands, pro-community health care, take back democracy, we don't hate the rich, we just want them to share, Canadian Wheat Board, and Stop Gormley, there was a diverse and eclectic selection. So what do you think? In your opinion, what do these protesters represent? What do you think these protesters mean? Have they got a coherent message? 1-877-332-8255. Lines are yours now. Fill in the blank. These protesters mean what? Because, frankly, I didn't get the sense that a lot of those people knew. They knew what they were against. But when you occupy a city, a group of them showed up at the University of Saskatchewan Senate meeting, where a group on the left-wing anti-nuke crowd have been very verbal inside the University Senate, saying it shouldn't be the University of Corporations. I get that. And if you people would like to pony up some of your own money, rather than relying on resource companies, soft drink companies, private sector local companies that contribute generously to the university, if you'd like to help run the Huskies with millions of dollars for the football program, and you don't want the Concord Group and David Dubé, fine. I'm sure Dave Dubé would take a holiday. But see, none of you protesters are prepared to do that. You aren't even prepared to fill out a little donation. So it's a little inconsistent, I think. When you want universities to run free of corporate and capitalist interference, and you're too cheap to give them $20. 1-877-332-8255. What do you think the Occupy protesters stand for? You fill in the blank. 1-877-332-8255. Want your call on here now only on NewsTalk Radio.
You are the 99%! You are the 99%! We're not saying people,
okay, so does that mean how many of us are 1%? I'm in the 99%. I'm in the group that shows up to protest. What do you think the Occupy Saskatoon Regina groups, they stand for? You fill in the blank. 1-877-332-8255.